Hey friend, have you ever prayed with tears streaming down your face, only to be greeted by deafening silence? Have you ever poured your soul out, whispering your deepest fears and hopes into the darkness, only to feel like heaven itself was closed? You're not alone. Today, we're confronting a quiet pain so many of us carry but rarely talk about. Why has God been silent lately? And maybe more importantly, what does that silence actually mean? If you've been feeling unseen, unheard, and uncertain, this video is for you. Let's walk through the silence together. Why God has been silent lately, and what that silence really means. I remember a season in my life when the prayers were constant, the tears were endless, and the silence unbearable. I begged God for answers. I pleaded for a breakthrough. But all I got in return was stillness. And I started wondering, did I do something wrong? Am I being punished? Has God forgotten me? The truth is, silence from God isn't new. It's not unique to you. It doesn't mean you're unloved. In fact, it often means you're deeply loved and right in the middle of a spiritual transformation. Look at David in Psalm 13. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Even David, the man after God's own heart, felt the sting of God's silence. He wasn't immune to divine quiet. Or Jesus, on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? Even the Son of God, in his most excruciating moment, felt abandoned. Silence, friend, doesn't equal absence. It might just be sacred. Reasons God might be silent. 1. Silence as a test of faith. When you're in the silence, it feels like God is distant. But in reality, He's watching your faith grow stronger. Just like a teacher remains silent during a test, God sometimes steps back, not to abandon you, but to let your faith mature. Genesis 22 tells the story of Abraham and Isaac. Abraham is asked to do the unthinkable, sacrifice his promised son. God doesn't speak again until the knife is raised. That silence wasn't cruelty. It was a divine trust exercise. God's silence often shouts, I trust you to keep believing. 2. You already have the answer. Some of us keep asking for a fresh word, a new sign, another miracle, but God already spoke. And until we obey what He's already said, He might not say anything more. Jonah heard God clearly. He just didn't want to listen. What followed was silence, storm, and a wail of a lesson. Sometimes, God is silent because He's waiting for your obedience. 3. God is working behind the scenes. Just because you can't see anything doesn't mean nothing is happening. Heaven is rarely loud when it's building something sacred. In the book of Esther, God isn't mentioned even once. Not one time. But His fingerprints are on every page. Your story might feel godless in the moment, but He's orchestrating every step you take. 4. He's drawing you closer. Silence can feel like rejection, but sometimes it's an invitation. A whisper that says, come closer. James 4 verse 8 says, draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. God isn't playing hide and seek. He's calling you into deeper intimacy. When God whispers, it's because He wants you near enough to hear it. Let me share a few powerful stories that will move your heart. A woman diagnosed with breast cancer cried out to God night after night. She heard nothing. 4 months, not a word. But as she walked through chemo and fear, she began to minister to other women in the waiting room. One day, she said, God wasn't talking to me because He was talking through me. A man lost his job of 20 years. He had bills, a family, and not one job interview came through. He started to question everything he believed. 6 months later, he was offered a position in a company that not only paid more, but aligned with his values. He said, God's silence was Him paving a better road I couldn't see yet. If you felt this too, comment below. When did God feel silent in your life, and what happened next? Let's create a space of raw honesty and divine encouragement in the comments. What to do in the silence? 1. Worship anyway, even when it hurts. Even when you don't feel it. Worship is a declaration of trust in the silence. Habakkuk 3 verses 17 to 18 says, "Though the fig tree does not bud and there are no grapes on the vines, yet I will rejoice in the Lord." Sing when it doesn't make sense. That's when heaven listens most closely. 2. Stay in the Word. God may be silent in your prayer time, but He's never silent in His Word. The Bible is alive. It still speaks. Let His Word fill the silence with strength. 3. Surround yourself with godly community. You weren't meant to walk through the silence alone. When Moses grew tired, Aaron and Hur held up his arms. Let people lift your faith when your arms get weak. 4. Look for the whisper. God wasn't in the earthquake, or the fire, or the wind, but He was in the gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19 verse 12 reminds us, God is often quiet because He's close. Listen for the whisper. That's where He hides. So, why has God been silent lately? Maybe He hasn't. Maybe He's just speaking in a different language. A language of trust, of timing, of love beyond words. Isaiah 30 verse 15 says, "In quietness and trust is your strength." If you've been walking through a valley of silence, know this: God hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned you. He is not done with you. He's closer than your next breath. Just because God is silent doesn't mean He is still. His silence might be the softest form of His love. Thank you for listening. If this blessed you, share this video with someone who needs hope. Comment below your story. Subscribe and follow for more raw, real, soul-deep content like this. This is Echoes of Spurgeon, a timeless path, where we explore the quiet spaces of life and discover that even in silence, God speaks.